Hello, and welcome to POMA Does, a podcast produced by the Pennsylvania Osteopathic Medical Association. We provide a voice for osteopathic medicine and share insights on issues important to osteopathic physicians, residents, and students, as well as those who embrace the osteopathic philosophy. POMA's mission is to promote the distinctive philosophy and practice of osteopathic medicine in Pennsylvania for our members and their patients. Thanks for tuning in.
Hi, I'm Ashton Amos. I'm the moderator for this nutrition podcast for POMA Does. So I'm an Erie LECOM third-year medical student with a dual master's in medical education. I did previously a master's in medical science and my bachelor's in human nutrition. We have two guest speakers here today. Melissa Zoll, who is a third year at Toro College of Osteopathic Medicine in Middletown. She's a registered dietitian with 4 years of clinical experience, both inpatient and outpatient. We have Liz Sane, who's a LECOM Erie fourth year, recently just matched in internal medicine. She's also a previous registered dietitian. She has 4 years of clinical experience with both inpatient and outpatient nutrition. We're here to give you some tips today on staying full during the day and just little tips here and there that'll hopefully help you on your nutrition journey. So we'll first talk about, meals that are going to keep you full longer during the long shifts, and we'll start with the topic of breakfast.
So in undergrad, I had this professor, and he would explain to us, everyone always wants a quick fix. What's the one thing that I could do different? And his response was always, try to switch to oatmeal every day, and if you can, add berries to it. And the idea would be, now you're getting fiber, you're staying full longer, you're helping your cholesterol, and you're eliminating some of those higher fat processed foods from your diet, like bacon, ham, whole eggs. Although they're a quality protein and we want to see you have eggs in your diet if you do eat them, they're still a high fat food when you have the yolk. Same thing with our simple carbohydrates like pancakes and waffles. We tend to put butter and sugar on them. They're not very nutritious. There's not a lot of nutrient-dense value, and you're going to get hungry sooner. So having something like oatmeal, it might not be your favorite food. Fun fact, try something about 7 times before you decide you don't like it. But that would be a really great benefit because you need to keep yourself fueled throughout the day.
A lot of people really enjoy like the nutrition shakes or the breakfast bars. Liz, what are your thoughts about those for breakfast?
Yeah, I think that they are an excellent option, especially if you're on a tight schedule or, you hit the snooze alarm too many times. I'm certainly guilty of that, but you want to be cognizant of the macronutrient distribution. That's just a fancy way of saying how many carbs, how much protein, and how much fat is in this. So you really have to be careful about it. So I'll use an example for myself. I bought a box of bars that said high protein bars, right? And ate one for breakfast, then noticed an hour later I was starving, right? I ate this protein bar. I, should have thought to check the label, right? When you think I would know to do that. But I checked the label after I'd eaten it, and there were only 4 grams of protein in that thing. So 4 grams of protein would not be considered a high protein option. So you want to make sure you check the label and you're not consuming something that would just solely be carbohydrate. The kind of quickest example I can think of something that would just really be carby would be something like a Nutri-Grain bar. Another example, maybe like a Clif Bar might be a better option that would have a higher protein amount and would also give you some dietary fiber. Fiber, as Melissa was talking about, great option. It's going to help you keep fuller for longer.
Absolutely. So other things, a lot of people like to stop by the Starbucks in the morning and maybe pick up some sweet beverages. What are your guys' thoughts on those?
I can feel that one too. Again, I'm guilty of that as well, but you have to be cognizant, especially your frappuccinos. I compare, honestly, some of those drinks might as well be dessert. You might as well have eaten a donut for breakfast. And again, it might taste really yummy and it's going to give you that kind of quick boost, but you're going to crash later in the day. That energy is just not sustainable.
Absolutely. So after, if you still decide that you're not someone who wants to try breakfast, we understand, still one of the best options for you, but if not, some brunch or lunch options. What do you think about that, Melissa?
All right, I gotta be a little bit of a party pooper. Eat breakfast, period. Breakfast is quite literally breaking the fast. So getting that metabolism started for the day and getting out of that fasting state. Now, I know intermittent fasting has been pretty popular lately. Those trend diets, they come and go, but we want the body to utilize its fuel, and the brain needs quite a bit to keep running every day. So by having breakfast, you're getting everything up and running, and you're not going to have that foggy feeling in the morning. And it's just a better way of being, but it's important that you're eating intermittently through the day. And if you start with breakfast, you should be having a small snack, then have your lunch and a small snack to avoid that hangry feeling. Now, there are a couple of easier options. As I said, the oatmeal. I gotta reinforce the oatmeal. But something like a low-fat Greek yogurt, that would be a great one too, because you're getting a lot of protein, not so much fat. You're still getting good vitamins and minerals. You'll get your vitamin D and your calcium. Or like a whole grain cereal with low-fat milk, or say an unsweetened soy milk. I want to specify the soy milk since there are so many non-dairy milks out there. Soy has a lot of good protein, and we want to have protein, healthy fats, and carbs with each meal and ideally each snack, because then it's a more complex digestion and it won't spike your blood sugar like a simple carb, and that continued theme of feeling full longer.
Liz, could you touch on possibly, more of the topic of caloric density for the regular food options?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this kind of touches on the emphasis that we're making on these kind of just refined, simple carbohydrate foods that are just not a sustainable option. So caloric density, I think the best way to think of it is almost if you compare food to money. So what are you going to get the most bang for your buck, right? We can all relate to money. So picture in my right hand, I have 100 calories of, let's say it's going to be Easter on Sunday. So I have 100 calories of jelly beans, and that's going to give me maybe a handful, and we're not talking a handful, it's a handful. Or I can have 100 calories of strawberries in my left hand. 100 calories of strawberries, I'm going to get like a cup and a half, a cup and 3/4 of strawberries. So which one am I going to get more bang for my buck, right? The strawberries. You get the dietary fiber that we've been emphasizing so much, less of that big spike on your blood sugar, and it's going to keep you fuller for longer. It's a better choice.
So let's talk about some healthy snacking options that you can keep on you during your shift, because a lot of times we're not going to have the option to sit down for a full meal, and we want to not feel guilty about the snacks that we're eating. So what are your guys' thoughts on that?
All right. So I think there are always some great go-tos that are around, and they tend to be underrated. The good old apple, pear, banana. I feel like any time there's a table with there's options, they tend to be there. Oranges too, but I would like the first three be. First and foremost, they have a little less sugar content. Now, for people who eat nuts or nut butters, that's also a great option to have with those fruits, because that reinforces having the healthy fat, the protein, and the carb together. If you don't like nuts, not a big deal, but it's really good to be chewing your food. So having a whole apple, it gives you that fiber. If you can't tell, we really like fiber. And it gives you substance. So it's going to help keep you full rather than going to grab something that's quick to drink. There's ways of doing this. Having snacks in various intervals, like I mentioned before, will also keep you from getting too hungry. So you're able to make better choices when mealtime comes around. So snacks shouldn't be this forbidden area of eating. Snacks are really good. It's just, like we said earlier, read the label and make a good choice. So something like a Smart Pop popcorn is probably going to be a little bit lower in calories and have some fiber versus, say, a bag of regular potato chips, a little bit greasier, a lot higher in salt, and it's just going to pass through really quick. Any thoughts, Liz?
Yeah, definitely. I think sometimes when we think of hospital cafeterias, we don't necessarily think of healthy snack options, but I promise they are there. I've been in many hospital cafeterias, and if you search, you will find them. You don't have to rely on the gummy bears or the Cool Ranch Doritos. I know they're tasty, but there are definitely some better options. So some of my favorites are carrots and hummus, apple and peanut butter, as we've discussed, or any type of nut butter is a great option. Greek yogurt, and you can top it with some fruit. String cheese, great option. That's one of my personal favorites, or hard-boiled eggs. Just all of these examples have some type of protein. That protein is going to help keep you fuller for a longer period of time, especially if you get busy later in the day. you'll be thanking yourself for the protein.
These are all really great options, especially for, healthcare professionals that are always able to, have meals already pre-cooked. But for those who do really enjoy meal prepping, we'd love to talk about some, not time consuming, but meal prep options that are actually healthy.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people, when they think of meal planning and making a healthy meal per se, get stressed out about what that means. I would tell my patients in the past just to kind of put a picture of a plate in your head. And if you construct your plate this way, it will kind of work itself out in terms of your macronutrient distribution. So get a visual picture of a plate. Half of the plate is going to be your non-starchy vegetables. I call those free foods. So you can eat as much of those as you want. And those are going to be your crunchy veggies. So lettuce, green pepper, onions, tomatoes, zucchini, squash, the list goes on and on. In 1/4 of the plate, a quarter is going to be your protein, a lean protein option, preferably. And then the other quarter of your plate is going to be your carb or your starch. So that would be obviously things like pasta, rice, potatoes, corn, peas, all that stuff falls in that starch category. What I want to emphasize, though, is that the idea of half of your plate being solely vegetables can sometimes be a little bit intimidating. And that doesn't mean that you are investing in eating solely salads for the rest of your life. There are other vegetables other than salad. For example, I'm an Italian girl. I grew up eating big plates of pasta, right? A serving of pasta, you don't want to go more than a cup at a time. And a cup of cooked pasta, if you put that on your plate, it's going to be a little disappointing. So personally, what I do to increase the veggies is I'll mix in green peppers, broccoli, onion to kind of bulk up the volume. And then it kind of tricks your brain. You feel like you're eating more than you actually are.
That's such a great way to do it. That visual and bulking up the pasta with something a little healthy so you don't have to visually see half of your plate. Love that tip. And frankly, the non-starchy vegetables, that can be a little bit challenging. So hear me out. I know that fresh vegetables are fresh, and that's great. And I'm not going to ever tell anyone don't eat fresh vegetables, but they come with a price tag. And so knowing what other options to be able to eat within the guidelines is really helpful. First, avoid canned foods because their sodium content is often not favorable, and do choose our frozen steamable vegetables. Now watch out for the packages that come with, say, like a sauce in there. Then all of a sudden you're getting a high dose of sodium. But if they're just plain vegetables in a steamer pack, generally there's no sodium or maybe 10 milligrams, negligible essentially. And you take them out, you pop them in the microwave, put them on for 4 minutes, and they come out really good. They actually taste pretty close to fresh, and you can get them on sale. Hopefully you have room in your freezer to stock up. So Liz mentioned earlier our non-starchy vegetables. Understanding the difference between what a starchy vegetable and a non-starchy vegetable is so important. So good vegetables to have would be like broccoli, cauliflower, green beans, bell pepper, zucchini. Of course, that's not an exhausted list, but notice I still haven't said salad. And then, unfortunately, spoiler, if you have things like potatoes, rice, pasta on your plate, and then your vegetable is corn, peas, carrots, that traditional mix of 3 that comes out of the freezer, you've just added a second carb. So do be mindful of that. And one little side note, carrots are a non-starchy food, but they get a bad rap because of that glycemic index. And basically, it doesn't mean anything because most of the time you're not eating carrots by themselves. All it means is if you were to have carrots completely by themselves, you digest them pretty quickly and it releases the sugars within them so that your blood sugar goes up. But if you're having them in an entire meal, it's a complex meal. Your body has to digest a lot at once. It's not really adding to your overall sugar in that meal. And that's a good thing. So there's a difference between how it would affect your blood sugar versus what it's actually doing when you're eating it. So throw that old thought out the window. Carrots are your friend. Getting off of the vegetable train, just being mindful of what your carbs are. So, the whole grains, you can make it really, really easy. So since we're trying to do what could we make quickly, grab a rice cooker, pick your favorite rice, ideally a whole grain. So wild rice, brown rice, black rice, red rice, it doesn't matter. And if you really like, I love white rice, grab something like a basmati rice because it's still a whole grain, it's white, and you can feel good about that. Then make enough for a few meals, throw it in the fridge, keep it by itself. You don't need those little containers. And when mealtime comes around, you scoop out what you need for that meal, get those vegetables out of the freezer really quick, and then that just leaves you needing a protein. If you're a meat eater, great. Try to have possibly like baked chicken breast or lean fish available for you, and try to avoid preparation processes that add fat back in. So a quick spray of olive oil, fine, but you don't want to be sauteing in oil like this thick in the bottom of a pan. That crispiness that you get, yes, it might be nice, but pop that in the air fryer rather than a layer of oil in the pan. And if you can, try to bake, broil, or grill. Have that in the fridge and just take out portions as you need, right? And if you're saying to myself, hey, I like more than just chicken and fish, that's fine too. Just be mindful of the cuts of meat that you choose. So something from, say, the pork family. Ham, very high in salt, tends to be fatty. Ribs, same thing, very fatty. But a pork tenderloin is very lean and it's not that high in sodium, and that would be a way to add more variety into your diet. Something similar, like a beef fillet, is also going to be better than, say, a skirt steak or a ribeye. So what cut you're choosing makes a difference. And for those of you who aren't really meat eaters or you want to have a meatless option, beans, lentils, legumes, those are all great, and soy. And we know that soy can be dressed up in many different ways, so it can take on the meal that you're having at that time, and it's quick. So just planning ahead doesn't have to mean those little containers. It just means having it available, that it can come out of the fridge, and then you can use our good old friend Chef Mike, as in the microwave.
That's awesome. Those are some great ideas. So there's a lot of, warm weather coming up. Thank goodness. It's been pretty cold up in Pennsylvania and the New York area. So when people are starting to go to these like cookouts and different things like that, what are some things that they should avoid?
That's a great question. They tend to have a lot of options. I'd like to start with a little tip for you. You're showing up as a guest, or you have control over the meal because you're hosting, but let's pretend you're a guest. It's nice to bring something with you, am I wrong? So always bring something with you that's considered healthy, so you know that you have at least one option there. So that could be like a lettuce salad. It could be a vegetable salad like our cucumber, tomato, onion salad. It could be a fruit salad, whatever it might be. But try to contribute something like that, because our traditional barbecue foods tend to be potato salad, pasta salad, macaroni salad, all doused in mayo. And that's not really going to help go along with our goals that we're having today. Then, our proteins that tend to go on the grill are more often than not like a cheeseburger, a turkey burger, dogs, sausage, chicken, right? Some of these are going to be better than others. The sausage and the hot dog, very processed, very high in salt, very high in fat. The cheeseburger, not terrible, but it depends on, do you know what kind of beef was used? Was it an 80-20 or was it a 90-10? You can not ask the host that. They'll probably look at you funny unless you're really close to them. But, the turkey burger we always know is going to be lean. The chicken, if it has no skin on it or you can remove it yourself, it's going to be lean. Or maybe that's your treat for that meal. Hey, I'm at a barbecue. I chose the chicken. I want to keep the skin. But being mindful of, I'm going to have this or that. We're going back to the money thing earlier. You only have, let's say, $1 to use. You don't want to spend all of your calories on the cheeseburger when you could have some other foods that you like that'll make you feel full. So maybe take the cheese off for that meal, or choose the turkey burger so that it's okay to have a small scoop of potato salad. I think I've beat the dead horse, but you get the idea. This over that.
This is all some really great information, ladies. A lot of good stuff about, staying full longer, choosing healthy options. My own plug here would be I love overnight oats. So this kind of goes in with the meal prepping and oatmeal and breakfast. It's something that, you wake up too late in the morning. It's already done. You did it the day before and you can prep it for several days ahead of time and already have it ready. It's something that takes such minimal effort, super easy. And for one, I can still use like soy milk. I add peanut butter, kind of try to, make it last longer for me, keep me full longer, especially for long days in the OR. So definitely a plug for breakfast, plug for oatmeal. I like to thank these ladies for, spending time with us today and teaching us about their nutrition knowledge. And we really hope that it had an influence on you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of POMA Does. Be sure to subscribe to POMA Does wherever you listen to your podcasts, and tell your friends and colleagues to tune in. Learn more about osteopathic medicine and POMA on our webpage, www.poma.org, and join the conversation on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube, or email us at poma@poma.org. We'd love to hear from you. Join us next time for another edition of POMA Does.